This is Levon Muhammad, aka Billie Jean Jackson. This is the song. Remember the song? Billie Jean, not my lover. She just a girl. Says that I am the one, but the kid is not my son. Yeah, I know I can't sing. But anyway, ever since I was a little girl, and I always thought something was fishy about this freaking story. If you're a huge Michael Jackson fan like myself, you done read everything it is about Michael Jackson. You done read his books and everything and everything. And I always thought this was weird. Okay, this woman's supposed to be obsessed with Michael, that she followed him to all his concerts. Now, remind you, she was a nurse. Unless she was a traveling nurse, even a traveling nurse can't follow you to every city to city. I always thought it was some holes in the gap when it came to this story. So she was obsessed with him. She used to write him letters all the time. And she would go around and say that Michael Jackson was her husband, and she would claim to have kids by him. Um, he ended up being obsessed with her as well. He also had a picture of her on his fireplace. You know how you have a fireplace, you have like pictures and stuff on your fireplace. I always thought it was strange. I always thought, and feedback from this, Michael, I don't think he really was into black women like that. And, he didn't have a skin disease or whatever, or whatever. I think him and his brothers, because him and his brothers, they was known to have, sex with fans or whatever, whatever. I think him and his girl really, like, backstage somewhere. Him and his brothers probably like ran a train on a girl or whatever, and she got pregnant by Mike, got infatuated with him, fell in love with him or whatever, whatever. And Michael didn't want to claim the baby or whatever. This woman even took Michael to court, and they took a DNA test. Now, for years, they always tried to make it seem like Michael was his virgin, he was pure and shit. Now, if you never fucked somebody, why would you take them to court to get a DNA test if you never touched them? If you never touched them, there's no reason to go to court and take a DNA test. But it was just so many gaps in this story. This woman would go to city, and remind you, this was like the late 70s, early 80s. Don't nobody know, even to this day, like, know where a favorite celebrity is at all times. So I found cap in that story. And then she was a nurse. When did she have time to work? I mean, it costs money to travel. So if she was city to city and all his damn concerts, that costs money. Where was she getting the money from? Who was she getting the money from? Was this your road boogie, your road boo, and you was ashamed of her because she was black or whatever? But it was just always so many weird things I felt about this situation. I really felt like Michael knew this woman, he was messing with this woman, and he didn't want to get out in the open. He, not that, nothing wrong with her, he just probably wanted to keep his love life secretive, or he wanted to portray a certain image or whatever. Maybe she was, too black for him to put it in the public eye or whatever. But I always found that very strange and odd. And then some of you might say, well, she was a traveling nurse. Even a traveling nurse don't travel that often. If you follow a celebrity that's on tour, they in a different town and city each night. A traveling nurse don't be in a different city and town every night. A traveling nurse would go to a certain city, especially like, during the pandemic, they had a lot of traveling nurses. They would go somewhere for like 3 months to 6 months or whatever. It went a different city every damn day. That's tiresome, and that's a lot of money or whatever. But yeah, I always felt like Michael was messing with this woman, and it never came forth where we never got any real answers. Like the fans never got any real answers if her kids was actually his or not. And when you got money, you can pay people to do shit. You can pay people to go away. You can pay people to say, "Oh, uh, do something to the DNA test so it won't look like it's my baby," etc., etc. But yeah, I always thought that was weird. I always thought that was weird. And then if someone's stalking you here, you're not gonna stalk them back. At least I won't. If someone's stalking me, I'm not gonna stalk them back. I'm not gonna have a picture of them reminding me of who they are. Hell, I want them out of my life as much as possible. But yeah, I always thought something weird about this situation. And not saying because she's a nurse that she can't have mental issues or mental problems. Usually a man would be obsessed with a woman more than a woman would be obsessed with a man. And I just always felt like something was just, really odd about that. He messing with that woman. Typically women don't make up relationships or say they involved with somebody that they're not involved with. Now a man would do that, so he can have street credit or look big and bad and tough in front of his friends, or look like he all that in front of his friends. Men typically try to impress other men when women really don't do that. But I always just thought it was something weird about this story. I always thought Michael was, dicking this woman down, because no woman is gonna be just obsessed with no man for no motherfucking reason. And yes, Michael was a big star back then. She probably wanted to sing it to the rooftop that he was her baby daddy. That's her man. And he probably didn't, want everybody to know because, maybe to him, she was like a nobody or whatever. But yeah, I always thought that part of the story about this woman going city to city. And I'm like, back then they didn't even have information like that to keep up with your favorite singer or artist like that. And for her to be at city to city here, who played for the plane ticket? So yeah, the Jacksons need to recuperate, really like retract this story and make it make sense. And just come forth and say that this woman wasn't crazy, that Michael and this woman had a damn relationship. Or she was some damn groupie chick that the brothers ran a train on and liked her. And she traveled with them. Because a regular person, if you got a 9 to 5, you can't just up and travel whenever the fuck you want to. Or because your boyfriend or superstar, just go out and go on tour every day with him. Like, that was the gap in the story I just didn't understand. So anyway, I just wanted to do a video, and I just wanted to, put my thoughts out about this woman, the real life Billie Jean. The real life Billie Jean. Now, I had to do some research. I don't know if she really went to jail or anything. I mean, you can go to jail if you accuse somebody of stalking or whatever. You can do some jail time. But like I said, for her to go to town, city to city, who was informing her where he was? Like, and then you gotta have some money. And nurses, yeah, they make money, but if you on tour with your so-called boyfriend or so-called man that you obsessing with, like, your money gonna run out eventually. They're not rich. Nurses are not rich. So I always just thought it was something weird about this story. Anyway, if you like my content, hit the like button. If you don't, engage in a freaking way. And tell me what all do you all think about this situation? Do you think there's some holes in this story, some gaps in this story? I think she wasn't totally freaking crazy. I think something was going on. And on that note, I'm out. Bye.